Well, as a matter of fact, Dr. John Alexander has been, would it be fair to say, Doctor, a developer of non-lethal technologies for years?
That's correct.
Doctor, can you, in essence, back up any aspect of this regarding night vision? In other words, was this, can you see a linear development anywhere with regard to night vision, or was it a sudden jump that would tend to back up what Colonel Corso is suggesting?
It's hard to say. And I've got to say, when Phil and I first talked about this and how they went about it, he described a classic black program in which it folds back in on itself, is almost untraceable. Because remember what he said, and this is in Phil's words, they found people who were already working the field,
sure,
so that it would not show up as, here's something, totally out of the blue.
So it could look as though it were some sort of natural progression.
Right. The ultimate problem with, if Phil is right, it means that we have to rewrite science. And you're going to,
we also have to rewrite history.
Well, I'm talking about the history of science, because it means that, everything up to Nobel Prizes and people who have been awarded money and patents and all of that
should not have
got some help.
Now, we encouraged industry to take the patents, and I have supported this in a pamphlet written in 1963 by General Britain. We encouraged them to take the patents as long as they developed it.
Well, the alternative to that would be to tell everybody where it came from, so
right.
There was no choice.
We couldn't do that because the climate opinion, they had destroyed our organization, Art.
I'm certain they would have. At some point, you must have sat down with General Trudeau, and obviously after you realized what you had on your hands in this cabinet, all of this technology, and you must have had a serious conversation with the general about where it came from, or did you never do that?
Oh, we did, almost every day.
Oh.
Now, let me tell you another thing, Art, you got to remember, too. How some of the developments came from the back door. In intelligence, you check also not actually what has happened, but you check omissions.
Right.
I walked in the general one day, and I told him, General, I got something here that's very serious. Now, I got to let you know, and we got to decide what to do. I told him, number one, there's no food aboard this flying saucer. No refrigeration facilities. There's no water. There's no toilet facilities. There's no recreation facilities.
Colonel, I've got to stop you and back up a little bit. You just said something quite remarkable. On this flying saucer, does that imply that you had a craft?
Not that we had in the Army, but I had the reports on the craft.
You had the reports?
Yes.
All right. Did these reports come to you along with the filing cabinet full of all these?
They did. They were in the top drawer of the filing cabinet.
So you had a full report on the craft they had recovered?
Yes. Well, as I say, as full as it could be in those days from what they saw.
I understand. Here you had the autopsy reports on the beings, extraterrestrial biological entities, robots virtually.
Yeah, the Sumerians called them Igigis, I-G-I-G-I-S.
And then you had a report on the craft itself. Now, you said there were no facilities, and what you've told me of the extraterrestrial biological entities, it makes sense. They wouldn't need all that, would they?
No, they wouldn't. And also, when the general asked me, what do you think is, how do they survive? Well, I have Tesla's reports. And Tesla, he was the genius in New York, and then went out to New Mexico. He actually set up his generator right up there at Colorado Springs.
Yes, sir.
And Tesla, in one of his writings, he had that the body itself is an electrical entity, our bodies. The cells are electrical. And you can propagate our system by electromagnetism. And Tesla actually said this. And I told the general, maybe this is a key, general, that they propagate themselves by electromagnetism. Because we knew that their guidance system was electromagnetic because of the way it affected some of our missiles and other items.
Right.
So for those emissions, we started what we called irradiated foods.
I'll be
When I
damned.
told him this, we flew down to Quartermaster, or that was in Richmond, Virginia, and they fed us a steak that had been on the shelf for 2 years, no refrigeration. And we made, now, irradiated food today, it kills salmonella in chicken, it kills trichina in pork. Yet we won't put on the market because of do-gooders, and it's harmless. And the American Science Agency in New York has stated that it's harmless, yet the do-gooders won't put it out because it says radiation.
So that's another technology that came from them.
It came through the back door, let's say,
All
because
right.
it wasn't there.
All right. You said the reason you came forward is that General Trudeau said that you could speak after his death. But wouldn't all work at the Foreign Technology Division be covered under the security requirements, other security requirements that you had to sign? In other words, how were you released not just from his personal oath, but from those other requirements?
The requirements mostly in security were on weapons and things we developed. And some of the laser developments are still classified. I didn't talk about those.
So there are things still
I
there.
had all the clearances, and from this book I did not violate any security because we didn't have the stamp on one of these things. The normal R&D contracts we put out, most of them didn't have the stamps on. Our Project Horizon was secret, and then it was declassified under the General's authority. And I did that suit.
And the General told you near his death that you could come forward after he died.
He said that.
Why do you think he didn't? Why do you think he wouldn't do it while he was still alive?
Well,
and back your story up.
Well, one day I was discussing with the General some of these items.
Yes.
And I told him this, General, we have this integrated circuit. What are we unleashing on the world?
Right.
We don't know what this thing will do.
Right.
What if someday, and I pointed my head, it integrates with the brain? Are we going to create some monsters? And he said, Phil, yes, what you're saying is true. But let's hope that the people who come after us will recognize this and do something about it. And then he stated this. He said, but maybe not in our lifetime. Well, it didn't happen in his lifetime, and even in 82, I happen to still be here.
Why, again, though, do you think the General didn't want any of this coming out when he was alive?
Because the climate of opinion and what was going on, even till he died 3 years ago, and even today, that anybody deals with this as a kook. In fact, I told the Germans one day, I explained something to them.
So he was worried about ridicule.
Yes. And also, the skeptics and the department, the people at ARPA and other places didn't like us. And we knew what our opposition was, and CIA didn't like us.
Uh-huh.
And there had been a lot of opposition, a lot of smearing, and a lot of good people might have been hurt.
Well, I'm sure that's true. All right, gentlemen, stand by as the story develops. My guests are Colonel Philip J. Corso and Dr. John Alexander. And they will be back, and we have a number of questions for the Colonel with regard to his now best-selling book, The Day After Roswell. So much of our technology, from night vision to fiber optics to irradiated food, came directly not from our heads, but from theirs. This is CBC.
Call Art Bell toll-free, west of the Rockies at 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. East of the Rockies at 1-800-825-5033. 1-800-825-5033. This is the CBC Radio Network.
It certainly is. My guests are Dr. John Alexander from Las Vegas, who is an expert in non-lethal weapons technology, has been working on that for years. and Philip J. Corso, Colonel Philip J. Corso, retired,